Hello, everyone. There's a lot of sexual assault going on these days, and it's really starting to become highly publicized. And so, you know that this is Domestic Violence Month, and I'm seeing more and more cases where there's a lot of sexual assault going on that are being publicized. Very interesting. Now, Bill Murray, he is an actor, and nearly 6 months after news broke regarding unspecified appropriate behavior by actor Bill Murray that halted productions on comedian Aziz Ansari's directorial debut adaptation of Atul Gawande's Being Mortal. So, like 6 months ago, there was something that he allegedly did, but they didn't talk about it. It was unspecified. You see how they hide stuff. Excuse me. They hide things. And so now the details of the incident have finally emerged after 6 months. You see how some people get away with things? And so in a new report from Puck's Eric Gardner, multiple sources describe Murray allegedly straddling and kissing through masks a much younger female production staffer who interpreted his actions as entirely sexual and was horrified by his behavior. Now, after she made an official complaint, they entered mediation and eventually came to a settlement of just over $100,000. Excuse me. Now, does money make it go away when you've been violated? I don't think so. Money doesn't make it go away. Money helps you to cope because you can get therapy. And if you need to take medication for, if it's worse than, really bad, you might have to be put on certain medications. If it's, antidepressants or things like that. If it leads to, some things like that. But money doesn't make, your trauma go away. Therapy helps, but it doesn't make it go away. And you can have triggers, you can have flashes of it, panic attacks, thoughts of it, invasive thoughts that come in and try to set you back from all the work you've done to move forward. It's a lot that goes on with this. And I always question the money, sometime, because without a case, without someone being prosecuted, without someone being charged, and they're just settling these cases, and how does that help other females? And I'm asking that question, and I hope you all will be able to give, put your comments in, under the video, because how does that help other victims if there's never ever a police report filed or charges are not brought against the person that's, has committed these alleged, horrible, acts? How does that help other victims? Most of the time, other victims, if you never come out and file a report, because look how long it took, 6 months. They said just some unknown or inappropriate act that they didn't talk about. 6 months later, now it's saying that there was a case that was settled for over $100,000. But he wasn't charged, obviously. So at the time, Murray said in an interview, I did something I thought was funny. And it wasn't taken that way, without going into anything farther into any farther detail. He said he thought it was funny. But he's an old enough man, old enough, well aware to know that violating someone is not funny. Violating someone is not a joke. Kissing and feeling and fondling someone is not a joke without their permission and is not consensual. And most people don't want to be doing all of that in public when they're supposed to be working on a set or anywhere in a place of employment. And so I beg the difference when he says, well, I thought it was something that was funny. How can that be funny, Mr. Bill Murray? Nothing's funny about that. And you get to settle this case, without it going to court, without charges being filed against you. It's just so crazy how we see these cases where things come out later on. And just like the video I did earlier where this guy, he was able to bail out 3.5 million, and then he got arrested again. Then his bail was set at 5 million, and he was able to bail out, and he's on bond for the big R, SA, and false imprisonment by violence. And again, these men that I'm speaking of, Bill Murray and this other man, they're not black men. They're not. But they are able to, get away with these type of things. And I think for women, no matter what race you are, because I don't want to make my videos about race, but we have to be real about the scales and how tilted they are, and how cases are handled so differently. How they're handled so differently. And how they've always been handled differently when it comes to the black race in the judicial system. And as real victims, no matter what race you are, because victims come in all different nationalities. If settlements are the best way to handle things, how can we ever curb sexual assault if we don't bring charges against the people that are assaulting us? If we don't bring charges, if we don't if we don't bring the charges, they don't get charged, and if we don't file police reports, if we don't file police reports, women, victims, don't file police reports, or even men, but women, if you don't file police reports, and you're saying you're a victim, and you don't file police reports, how can it be brought to the attention of authorities so they can investigate it? Because they're going to keep getting away with it if they're really doing it after the investigation and it's presented to the district attorney's office for charges or to be filed. They're going to keep getting away with it, because if they have the money to pay out the settlement, they're going to just keep doing it. As in this Bill Murray, he got away with it. He's paying this settlement, and he said he thought it was funny, so he obviously admitted doing it. And no, anyone's not going to take it that way. And he, because it's not funny. He didn't go into any further detail. So 6 months ago, this is what went down, right? And now we're learning that he was able to, come to a settlement just over $100,000. Now, as of now, the fate of the film, which was about 50% completed, remains in question, though it looks like it's headed towards cancellation rather than a reshoot, according to the report. And maybe it should be canceled. Maybe we shouldn't support this man. It's just, maybe we shouldn't. Well, I would not watch his movie anyway. But I'm just saying that it just behooves me that a lot of women, they settle with money, and there's no charges being brought up a lot of times. And how can we protect any future victims, if charges are not being brought? Because if a future victim doesn't know a person is that has, assaulted another female or females, how can they be protected moving forward? How can they be protected moving forward? Because it's just suits are being settled, people are getting money, and I just don't believe that money cures trauma. It can help pay for therapy if you don't have insurance, things like that, but it just doesn't cure trauma. Does it help? Yes, it helps in other ways, but the trauma will be there, and what has occurred is going to always be there, because what happens. You can't go back and redo it, And so when you have this kind of things going on, how does that protect future victims? How does that protect other women? How does that protect other females? Whatever how does it? It doesn't. And if you don't file police reports, then usually these type of cases are covered up, and the a victim or their accuser goes on, they get paid, they pay their attorney fees, they get paid, and they move on. In the way that they obviously move on, in their way, however that is. No, disrespect or anything to the alleged victims, accusers, or real victims, but they move on, and now that person may be involved in another situation or move on to their next victim to prey on, and this is what happens. And then it turns out that, oh, this person's been doing this forever, been doing this. It's not the only time that this person has done this, and it was a settlement or whatever. And so it just really doesn't help, excuse me, future victims, potential victims. Then, yeah, it doesn't help, you know. And then the ones that really are guilty of something are getting off, and the ones that are not guilty are, you know, retained, put in detention, you know, and do not even get to make bail. And then they're overcharged, and um, with that being said, violation of their due process rights and constitutional rights. It just but we're dealing with this Me Too movement era. We're dealing with a lot of stuff here. And just to even, bring this out, gives me a lot to think about with the work that we need to do individually and collectively to try to get, the judicial system overhauled. It definitely needs to be overhauled because it is just so much stuff going on, and we definitely see that the scales are just tilted in such a way that we keep seeing the unfairness and of these cases. So leave your all comments below. Let me know what you think. It's always good to hear different perspectives, about this situation. And I'll talk with you soon.